Good evening. If there's one thing the West can agree upon, it's to stop Iran from having nuclear weapons. But how these countries do that is an ongoing debate. Tonight, talks about Iran's future have been held between America, France, Germany and the United Kingdom. Just before we came on air, the US has said that for the first time in years, it'll end President Trump's maximum pressure policy. That implies lifting the economic sanctions which have been imposed on the country since 2018, when Trump tore up the deal known formally as the JCPOA. So with this American attempt to restart diplomacy, the focus moves on to Tehran to stick to its side of the bargain and not enrich uranium when the UN says it's doing just that. Tonight we'll get an insight into Iranian and American thinking. But first, here's our diplomatic editor, Mark Urban. The impact of coronavirus on ethnic minority communities has been well documented. But an ONS and University of Oxford study has found that while COVID-19 mortality rates among some groups have dropped in the second wave, the rates for Bangladeshi and Pakistani groups have remained stubbornly high and far above the average for white people. This week, as the government announced that ethnicity would be one of the factors taken into account by its new shielding and vaccination plan, Yasminara Khan has been in East London hearing about some of the issues faced by the Bangladeshi community during the recent wave of infections. Now, Facebook built its world on likes and friendship. Now, Australia's government, having taken a stance against large technology companies not paying for news, has said the company has unfriended the whole country. Australian Facebook users are waking up to find all local and global news sites are unavailable through the network. This is because the tech giant is reacting to a proposed law that would make companies like it and Google pay for news content on their platforms. In the ultimate big tech versus the government battle, who will win? Who has the power? Joining me now is the author and professor at Harvard Business School, Shoshana Zuboff. Shoshana, are you in any way sympathetic for Facebook doing this?
No.
On that point, though, if you're looking at what Australia are doing, do you then see it as a model for the rest of the world? Because, some could say, building on your point about democracy taking a nap, well, the cat's already out of the bag. They're too big to regulate.
Yeah, that's not true. In my view.
Now, it's the local planning decision that seems to have caught the eye of town councils across the country. Leaders in Stockton met tonight, deciding whether to knock down part of its high street and replace it with a £37 million riverside park. The Castlegate shopping of other malls in an attempt to move the town centres into the 21st century. Here's Seema Katecha. Stockton a bit on this. You're in favour of it as an idea. Could you sell it to us?
Yeah, it's a fabulous idea.
So you need this to become a nature spot, keep something about what was already there and try and reuse it. I think they had looked at this building and seen if they could do something with it, and they don't think that they could. OJ, what do you make of that this should be something to be preserved and perhaps worked with?
Well,
That's right, to bring you back in, OJ, at the moment, because, of course, there has been change of use. There have been things being, changed to property. And some people are saying that's going to strip. The National Trust has even said today that's going to make towns, if all these shops now and businesses become homes, that's going to make them, Let's take a look at some of the front pages which are just in. On the front of the Times, perseverance pays off. NASA's rover reaches Mars, safely on Mars. We've got this from Hope for Holidays overseas as well. Ministers discussing vaccine passports. On the front of the Daily Mail, over 40s to get jabs by the end of March. The paper says it's an exclusive there with the age bands to be widened and no priority for key workers, meaning that. And over on The Guardian, trust in law is at risk if ministers bypass MPs, and more on that Facebook story we were covering, Facebook under fire around the world over the Australian ban. That's all from us this evening. Faisal will be here tomorrow. Good night.